privileges over the Irish, and then let the conflict ensue. And the modern version was, of course, a lot of controlled conflict. But by creating this conflict in Ireland, they immediately were able to enable stability in London. The idea was, well, we're going to let the Scots and the native Scots and Irish, which are ancient cousins, go at it, and then we're going to subdivide the British Isles. We're going to create a group like the English, and the English, believe it or not, if you're English and you do your homework on your ancient background, well, you're all related. You're all related to a handful of relatives. I mean, the Irish, 80% of them have the same father. In ancient times, so it's pretty wild stuff. The Scots are going to be no different. They're all ancient cousins, but you have a divide and rule scenario and a brilliant ethnic conflict model, which became very, very dangerous. They actually fired a mortar round at Margaret Thatcher. These things can get out of hand, but by creating this conflict in Northern Ireland, and they created stability in London for a long, long time. By creating conflict in Ireland as well as Scotland, they created stability in Britain for a long, long time. It's evil. I don't like it. It is what it is. But the modern versions of the ECM's ethnic conflict models, what you see in LA, is directly related to all the experiments they did in somewhere like Northern Ireland. But you have all these energy flows. The energy flows are between groups, and these groups there's going to be outlets, and they're going to go at it. But when they go at it, they're not taking out anyone important. Every once in a while, they get out of hand. This is going on right now between Palestinians and Israel, believe it or not. That's an ethnic conflict model. They go at it, but in reality, the Palestinians don't take out anyone important, and the Israelis sometimes do. They got the upper hand in the conflict model for hundreds and hundreds of years. The Scots or basically the people in London, the parties running London, parties running the Crown. The Crown is actually a separate legal entity to Britain. The Crown's in London, but the Crown is a state incorporated. And they had the upper hand for a long, long time in Ireland. That shoe got switched to the other side. A lot of things can happen in an ethnic conflict model. But that is a basic example. You have to understand the Northern Ireland template. You have two sides, one side given special privileges over another. They're allowed to go at it, and as they go at it, they create stability. Now, what's a modern version of that? What have we seen in somewhere like North America? You might remember the LA riots. It doesn't matter whether you're in Russia or China. Maybe you remember the LA riots. When the LA riots happened, they went at it. All these people went at it, but they didn't overturn the government. And a lot of those social engineers, one of the famous ones, I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but he said, you see, it works. They didn't overturn the government. The Hispanics went after the Koreans, or the blacks and the Koreans went at it, so on and so forth. They went after the whites, but no one overturned the government. It created a stability among the elite. While all these people are fighting, it creates stability among the elite. Now, many of you are bright, and you're saying, well, isn't that like the cultural conflicts? Well, yes, gay rights, and that's part of the dynamic conflict model. You got gay rights, diversity. You have all these controlled conflicts. The arguments over abortion, nothing ever really gets done. Energy flows. It takes up a lot of energy. It works people into emotion, but it creates stability at the top. It's all big, giant game. But that is a dynamic conflict model. It's all the cultural wars, as they call it. And that's true. Look, whatever gets done over this stuff. Well, every once in a while you get an abortion ruling going one way, you get a gay marriage ruling one way, you get one moving one way, you get one moving the other direction. But it burns a lot of steam. It burns a lot of energy. Nothing gets done. And no one gets killed necessarily, but nothing gets done. But an ethnic conflict model is where you import a bunch of Latinos into California. They go at it with Africans. It creates a whole lot of conflict, and they get affirmative action over the whites and whatever. And why people are arguing, they'll at least just sit there and run everything. Sure. And you don't think they own Mexican elites, you have another thing coming. You think Mexican elites care anything about Mexicans, you have another thing coming. That's not how these people operate. It should be common sense to you now. I don't like it. It's a big game. It's stupid. What you need to understand about the ethnic conflict model in some parts of Western civilization, especially France, especially Anglosphere, especially the United States, is something unprecedented in the history of the world has been done. Someone has ran an ECM against their own founding group. That's never been done successfully. No one knows the exact outcome of this because it is unprecedented in the history of the world. In my previous talk, I said something. I said that no closed society has ever been brought down through violent conflict. Well, that's true, but there can always be a first time for everything. You don't run. The head of the Cherokees does not bring in non-Cherokees and give them special rights and privileges over his Cherokees and expect not to get his scalp cut off. It doesn't work like that. You're trying to square a circle. You're not going to square a circle. Natural law says it's impossible to square a circle, but you can piss off a circle. You can tick one off. Sure you can. And that's what's been done. And a proper ethnic conflict model, and I'm going to go back into the North American and the Anglosphere ethnic conflict models, but the actual ethnic conflict model and the cultural wars and everything else. You might remember Henry Kissinger wrote a paper. He wrote a paper, I believe his doctoral thesis was on creating a lot of little wars around the planet, and creating a lot of little wars around the planet creates stability for the United States. Well, sometimes it does, sometimes it gets out of hand. This is very flawed stuff. I don't like it, but it is what it is, and you kind of need to be aware of it. Russia right now is running an ethnic conflict model. They're running a proper ethnic conflict model. Vladimir Putin's not discriminating against his Slavs per se. In other words, someone made the call on open borders. He blames someone in London for that. He can't stand open borders. The Sudanese, the Angolans can't stand it either. You see, Sudan, they're running an ethnic conflict model as well, a communist-style ethnic conflict model. You got to remember, Putin and company are communists. The communists were very brilliant at this stuff. In other words, Vladimir Putin can't control his borders. They're saying we're going to run open borders and we get to run that. We get to make that rule for the world. Now, what in London gets to make the rules for the world? I don't know. We're going to find that out someday. Is it an alien sitting underneath London? I don't know. I don't care. Most likely not. Most likely it's someone powerful that got to make that rule. Whatever it is, it happened because he blamed London. You can look it up. He's ticked off about it. But he says, fine, you want to run an ethnic conflict? You want to run open borders? I can't let the largest landmass in the world flood into Russia. That's going to create problems. But he's a communist. He knows how to run an ECM. He gears up his Slavs. He's running a full-blown ethnic conflict model, and they know what he's doing. Senator John Edwards wrote a 40-page report for the CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, and he says they know exactly what they're doing on all the human rights violations and everything in Russia. That's their game. The game on one side is to run open borders, and then when they do anything, yell human rights and try to bring in their anti-racist stuff and try to demoralize the population. And my next series is going to be on Russia because you guys, no one understands what's going on there. So we're going to try to give you a better analysis. But what a proper ethnic conflict model means in Russia right now is they're not letting anyone take any energy. They're controlling the energy flows. If you go into Russia and you're not a Slav, you can be in trouble pretty quickly. You know, again, it is kind of deceptive, but he has to play the game. You know, you have the skinheads walking down the street, they beat the living daylights out of someone. The police come, they may arrest the skinheads, they may let them go, then they'll really beat the living daylights out of them and blame the skinheads. That's how that works. The smart skinheads go and join the FSB, whatever. They blend into the system. The white nationalists learn the game. They scratch their head and they say, okay, we got to be nationalist Russia for the Russians. We got to keep that under lid. We have to keep that National Socialism. We have to keep that under lid. They're going to squash that. Why? Because Brzezinski, the person that backed Obama, his foreign policy advisor behind the scenes, they and a couple other parties in Anglosphere openly sponsor National Socialism in Russia. Why? They're creating a problem. They tried to create a problem. John Edwards of the CFR even openly talked about that. They're trying to create a problem in Russia, to create a reaction so they can get a solution. Problem, reaction, solution. I know you guys are saying maybe you listen to that, what is that, InfoWars. Who's this guy in InfoWars? Famous guy now in America. Everyone in the government knows about them. InfoWars. I'm going to actually look it up real quick. Alex Jones, InfoWars. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. But these guys are become very powerful. Guys like on InfoWars, you know, talks about secret societies and